Launch at T-minus 90 seconds and counting.
Let's see. One small stiff a man, one giant... Oh, hello, Scargazers. You're just in time. My skeleton crew and I are about to blast off for a little space hacksploration. Care to join us? Good. I hope you're made of the right stuff. 'Cause we'll be heading freight years from terra firma, boldly going where no ghoul has gone before. Hey, pal, watch the suit or you're launch meat. Which is kind of like the man in tonight's tale. He's going places too, except his destination is a little more earthbound. It's a nasty bit of scarodynamics I call horror in the night.
Death Star. Right, just one security guard now. Okay, let's go.
You make me fucking laugh, T. I don't know why we're even putting bullets in the bloody guns.
Just trying to be prepared, that's all. Mr. Starr said he wanted it real.
Mr. Starr said he wanted it to look real. You bloody kid, it's a fucking panto we're putting on.
Know what your problem is, T? At the end of the day, you're just another jobsworth. Working for wages.
You're gonna fuck this up, aren't you?
Not me, mate. Bleeding professional. Did I tell you my idea?
Do you ever stop talking?
You should listen for a change. Aren't you tired of doing someone else's dirty work for crap money? We could do what Mr. Starr's doing. Set up a fake robbery, pocket the insurance money and resell the sparkly elsewhere.
30 seconds. I suggest you shut the fuck up and concentrate.
Now, I know what you're thinking, T. How can we do it without Mr. Starr's jewellery stores and organisation? Well, that's why I got a plan B. We keep the jewels. See what I mean? Mr. Starr gets something. We get something.
Yeah, your tiny fucking mind. Nobody steals from Declan Starr and gets away with it.
There's always a first time.
Keep your fucking head down!
Jesus, gee, that was a bit over the fucking top, wasn't it?
Hey, Nick. You know that idea of yours? Like, taking the jewels and running? Well, I think you're onto something. Maybe that'll shut you up.
Next time, aim lower.
You weren't expecting that, mate, were you? son of a... I need a room.
£25 a night, sir.
I know you from somewhere.
Maybe. I've been here a long time.
I don't want to be disturbed. Comprende?
We run a very discreet establishment, sir. No one will even know you're here. Lift just around the corner, sir.
Fixer. It's Nick. Listen, I need a favour.
Who the fuck is this?
It's Nick.
Nick who?
Nick Marvin, you sorry excuse.
The number you have dialed has not been recognized. Please check your number and try again.
Hey! Anyone around? Hey! Hey, wait a minute! Thank you. What's so funny?
Sorry. I'm easily amused these days. What?
Nothing.
Don't take it personally. From where I'm at, everything seems a little funny.
Oh, I bet. Well, I tell you what, sweetheart. If I wasn't feeling so under the weather, I'd be happy to amuse you all night.
You that good?
Darling, I could amuse you to death.
That'd be a neat trick. You all right? I'm all right. Back from the dead, huh?
What happened?
I couldn't just leave you to bleed to death now, could I? Mind if I sit down? Poor thing.
The fuck?
Needed a shower to get all the blood off. I hope you don't mind.
What happened?
Couldn't just leave you there down in the lobby to bleed to death now, could I? Me and Lou brought you up. Lou, the night man. You mind if I sit down? Is that your car parked up the street?
Why?
I hope it wasn't. Cops hold it away. They were swarming all over here.
Shit.
Lou was cool, though. Said no one checked in since yesterday. You're lucky. The bullet went right through. You just gotta rest, Nick.
How did you know my name was Nick?
You told me while I was undressing you. I like that part.
Did you? You got a name?
Do I need one? Poor thing. You're burning up.
I gotta get out of here.
You will.
Hello? Hey, look. Hey, wait a minute.
Darling, you okay? You hungry? I got you a sandwich. You okay?
Must be the fever. I'm having these weird dreams. Hallucinations.
What you need is a drink. I hope you like red. I found this great little burgundy. It's a little rough around the edges, but then again, aren't we all?
Where'd you find a place open at this hour?
I know all his neighborhood secrets. Am I drinking alone? You know, Nick, you and I could really help each other.
What makes you think I need help?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe it's the hole in your shoulder. The cops crawling all over your car before they towed it away. Or maybe it's the way you never take your eyes off that briefcase.
What do you have in mind?
You need to get out of here. I need to get out of here. How about we get out of here together?
And how are we going to do that?
We go downstairs. We get in my Mercedes. And we drive.
You don't even know me. What if I'm a really bad man?
Oh, I'm sure you are. The thing is, it turns me on.
What you doing in this shithole, girl?
Something happened. A while ago, I made someone unhappy.
A guy?
How'd you guess?
There's always a guy in these stories.
He sent someone to hurt me. Do you want all the gory details?
I'll use my imagination.
Oh, God. I wish I could turn mine off. I'm sick of this place. Help me get out of here, Nick. I'm so thirsty. Help me forget, Nick. Forget.
Anything you want, baby. What you trying to do? Snap it off? Hey! Slow down!
Have tumbled from our beds, and as far as we can tell, 3 or 4 Scud missiles have been launched.
The U.S. Congress today that all Iraqi forces have pulled back across the
Hey, Lou! Hey, Lou! I'm talking to you, arsehole! What is your fucking problem? What's happened? What do you want with me?
You still don't remember, do you, Nick?
Remember what? Cops? You're doing this, aren't you? Why are you doing this? What have I ever done to you?
It's funny, that's exactly what I said to you 5 years ago.
5 years? Laura Kendall.
It's nice to see you, Nick.
Oh my God.
Get the case. I see the shoulder's healing okay.
Looks like they're all here, Mr. Starr. You know something? This is the same place that me and Nick did that job for Dominic Kendall a couple of years ago.
It was a hit, right? He caught Kendall's wife with a driver. What was her name?
Laura. Yeah, she was shagging when we came in the door. Nick fucking massacred them.
Nice place to hide out.
How did you know he was there, Mr. Starr?
Got a call. Some woman. Said she knew I was looking for Nick. Told me where I'd find him.
Woman, eh? Guess Nick wasn't prepared for that.
You get that feeling?
Poor Nick. Perhaps if he had had reservations, he wouldn't have checked in. Maybe next time he bumps into the girl of his screams, he'll expect her. Begin launch sequence. Gotta go, creeps. 2, 1. Wow! What a massacre!
Dr. Crypt Keeper, I'm not the one with the problem here. She is.
Relationships aren't about who's right or wrong. Look, do you remember how you felt about each other when you were newlybleds? Do you want to feel the same way you felt at your marriage ceremony? Good. Then let go of what you find irritating about each other before it grows too far. Which is the kind of advice the young couple in tonight's tale should take. They're fiends and lovers whose relationship is clot between a rock and a horrid place. I call this one Cold War.
thought you said this beautiful borough had a bank.
Shut up.
Oh, sweet Ford. Do you French kiss your mother with that mouth?
Nice one. I said shut up, both of you. It's here somewhere, just keep an eye out. Get a move on, Cutter. Come on, we haven't got all night here. The bank's just up ahead, I know it. Ain't here, mate. Oh, well, I don't remember asking you, ass bag. Maybe you should pay more attention to the pecking order around here, huh? Not on the face, not on the face, okay? Chill out, Cutter, just chill. All I'm trying to tell you, boss, is he ain't here, because he ain't here.
It used to be a bank, now it's a laundrette.
Damn it.
I'm sorry, baby. What do you want to do now?
I got a plan. You know the routine. Just keep it running, huh?
Ford, don't be such a wanker. This isn't a good idea, and you know it.
I don't know what a wanker is, and I don't care. Look, a man's got to do what a man's got to do. Who ever heard of putting a laundromat in a bank?
That's what I've been trying to tell you. It's a bad omen. Let's just get back in the car.
No can do, princess. I was really looking forward to robbing that bank, you know that?
I know, but there'll be others. I'm telling you, this whole thing's giving me a bad feeling. Don't do this, I mean it.
Oh, come on, what's your problem? We must have done 1,000 jobs like this before now. Only the bad guys are guns, remember? Look, what could possibly go wrong? Oh, okay, party people, let's put our hands up in the air and let's all wave them around like we just... Shit.
Fool. If they don't kill you, I'm gonna do it myself.
Yeah, promises, promises. Hey, be cool, kids. Okay, let's just be cool here. I'm a firm believer in the teachings of Buddha, and like the fat man always said, first come, first served. So we'll just be backing out of here. Not in my face. Anywhere but in my face.
Come on, easy.
Drop your gun! Drop it!
I'll just put it here. Okay, just put it there.
Drop it, bitch!
Bitch!
Shit.
Who the hell do you think you're talking to?
No! Drop it, or he's dead!
In your dreams! I'm gonna wear your ears as a fucking necklace, Kato!
Don't call me Kato, bitch!
Then don't call me bitch, Kato!
Cammy, you've got every right to be breathing fire here. No one says you don't, but, the spray on that bird gun is pretty wide, honey.
Your point being?
Well, my point being, we got a better chance of getting out of here alive if you use what's between your legs instead of that thunderstick in your hands.
Suppose you're right.
Put the gun down, please.
You win.
Got nippers and matches. Leave it up! Coming! Go on, baby!
You bitch.
Go!
Come on, Tammy!
Bye-bye, Cutter. Wait for me! What did I tell ya?
Discuss it later, just drive.
Right. Oh, shit.
Come on, baby. Come on, you can do it. Here, have some of this.
Okay.
Ow. Oh, it's gonna be all right.
Careful. Careful.
I'm doing my best.
Ah!
Hold still. Can't find it.
Ah! Well, of course you can't find it. That's the wrong leg.
Well, how was I supposed to know? There was a hole there.
Well, that's an old hole. The new one, with the slug in it, is in this leg.
Fine. You're gonna be such a wanker. You can do it yourself.
Oh, there's that word again.
I mean, it's not like you haven't been shot before. Why'd you always have to make such a big deal out of it?
Because each and every time it happens, it still hurts. Here, let me show you.
You bastard!
Ah, quit your crying. It barely grazed you. I could have done some serious damage if I wanted to.
Yeah, you people are making too much noise.
Shut up, Shavy! Don't make me come up there!
Right, that's it, Ford. No more. I'm through letting you treat me like shit.
Good. Go on then, leave. You'll be back. And to the women, God said, your yearning will be for your husband, and he will dominate you. Genesis 3:16.
Not this time.
Yeah, well, that's what you said the last time, and the time before that. Besides, who else would have you?
Plenty of men.
Ron, the answer is nobody. Don't you see? That's our bond. We're in this together. We're two of a kind.
I don't believe that anymore. People are more accepting.
People are shit! Look, go on, go if you want to go so bad.
Ford!
Go on, you'll be back.
You better hope not. Because if I do, you're going to regret it. I'm leaving.
Eat one!
Excuse me, barman. Can you help me out here? I just hit town, and I'm looking for a friendly face.
Yeah? What is it you want?
Look around you, man. I think that's pretty obvious, huh? I mean, do you see any big titties rubbing up against me? Do you see me doing the bump on the dance floor with any fine-looking booty? No, you don't.
Well...
Mm-mm. I didn't ask if you could see any one-eyed banjo-playing, big-headed deliverance types. Teeth missing and tattoos on their necks. Those, my friend, you have plenty of. No. What I need to know is, where are all the good-looking ladies, man?
How many do you need? Will one do?
Yeah. That's fine.
Shavy, I don't know shit about the holes in your floor. Sounds to me that you've been smoking the crack again, buddy. Guns are illegal. Every Tom, Dick, and wanker knows that.
Wanker, I give you the wanker. Every time you make a noise, you put a hole in the floor.
Sounds like some fucking breakfast cereal to me. Wankers. I told you you'd come back, didn't I? Cammy? Cammy. Cammy?
Ford.
What the hell have you been doing all day, baby?
I think you mean who?
Hey, that's my robe.
That it is.
This the guy you telling me about?
That's him.
I expected more.
Hang on a minute. Is this your big idea of revenge? With this guy? Okay, I apologize. I'll never shoot at you again. Now get rid of him.
Too late, Ford. This is my new partner. So, eat one!
You can't partner one of them. Jeez, I can't even believe you let him do you. Take another shower, Cammy. The thought of it's making me sick.
You racist little prick. Maybe it's time somebody taught you some manners.
Jimmy, no!
He doesn't get it, does he?
Oh, I get it, all right. You're gonna be my bitch.
Oh, Superfly, chill out. Look, this isn't about the color of your skin. In my world, there's only one thing that determines who rates and who doesn't. Simply put, are you alive or are you dead? Any more questions?
Bastard! I hate it when you do that.
I thought we agreed after Cutter, no more humans.
Then stop treating me like shit. I'm tired, Ford. I want out.
There is no way out. Face up to it. We belong together. Now tell me why. You know the answer, tell me.
Because we're zombies.
That's right, ghouls. The Walking Dead. Whatever you want to call us, we're no longer part of the world out there. The living can't be trusted.
Neither can the dead. Zombies! You can stick your dick in it, but you wouldn't want to feed on.
Let me go! Oh, Ford! You gotta believe me! I didn't know!
Okay, I'm coming, baby.
You ever tasted zombie blood? It's putrid. That beer has gone bad. One sip, and you are shitting your stomach lining into the bowl.
I gotta hand it to you, bloodsucker. You paint a pretty picture. Trouble is not one word of it's true.
He's right. We're no different than you.
Blasphemy! Your kind are garbage eaters. Mindless, lazy critters who live off the flesh of the dead. You feast on what we vampires throw away. Now bow down to me, bitch, and show your master some respect.
What did you call me?
A name worthy of your species. Dog.
Hey! You're gonna regret that.
Bitch. That's what I thought you said. Kiss my zombie ass!
Ball guys!
Going somewhere?
I'm going to tear your hair from your shoulders and shit out your throat!
Tell it to someone who cares. You can't kill us. We're already dead.
He's right. Fight's over, Count Chocula. You can walk away peaceful or in pieces. Your choice.
No, not the face. No guns to the face.
See, we're not that different after all.
Men, all vain as shit.
These zombies. You're so easy. Out we go.
So, vampires can turn into bats and fly away before they hit the ground. Does that really make them that different? Okay, maybe you've got a point. That doesn't give them the right to treat us like second-class citizens. If I ever see that blood-sucking rodent again, I'm gonna break both his wings. No, those snobbish vampires don't have anything on us. That's right. Things will be a bit different now. But we'll manage. I mean, we both can't be the pretty one. Oh, did that shotgun hurt you? Here, let me help you with that, sweetie. You're welcome. Oh, there. Don't worry. I'll take care of you. Don't really have a choice. After all, we're two of a kind.
I guess Cammy and Ford won't be joining Jimmy's Fang Club anytime soon. Still, I do see a little blight at the end of the tunnel for them. If Ford's new look grows on her. So, how's our struggle with wife and death? Are we happy? Looks like they'll be headed for divorce corpse instead.
The night had a peculiar taste, thick and metallic, hanging over the town like a silent verdict. Street lights flickered sporadically, painting the wet asphalt with fractured halos of yellow. Rain had fallen earlier, leaving puddles that mirrored the sparse glow of neon signs. The town of Ravenwood had always worn an air of quiet despair, a place where secrets whispered behind closed doors and no one dared look too closely. And tonight, the darkness seemed almost sentient, crawling into the corners of every alley, every abandoned lot, every shuttered window. Detective Marcus Halstead pulled his coat tighter against the chill, his breath visible in the street lamp's flicker. He had been called to investigate what the precinct dispatcher had vaguely described as a disturbance, though his instincts told him it was far more sinister. He had learned long ago that in towns like Ravenwood, disturbances were never mundane, they were harbingers, early signs of horrors yet to be fully realized. Marcus parked his car at the edge of Grayson Avenue, the heart of the old district, where cobblestone streets had begun to crack under the weight of decades. The building in question was a dilapidated apartment block, its facade sagging as if the structure itself had grown tired of standing upright. Windows, some broken, some taped over, reflected the streetlights in jagged shards. The door, chipped and swollen from years of neglect, had been forced open, a cruel invitation for anyone foolish enough to enter. Inside, the smell hit him first, a mix of damp rot, rust, and something coppery he could not immediately place. The hallway was dimly lit, shadows pooling in the corners, whispering secrets to the walls. He moved cautiously, his flashlight cutting swaths of clarity through the suffocating gloom. On the ground floor, a figure stirred. Marcus called out, his voice firm, but the only response was a wet, dragging sound, as if something, or someone, was moving against the grain of the floorboards. He advanced, every instinct screaming, and rounded the corner into the main lobby. A body lay sprawled on the floor, dressed in a torn coat, face obscured by the flickering shadow of a swinging light bulb. But it wasn't the lifelessness that unnerved him, it was the contorted posture, the unnatural angle of the limbs, the faint twitch of a finger as if the victim was straining to convey a message from beyond the veil. Marcus's flashlight trembled slightly as he crouched. The body was young, no older than 25, male, but his eyes, wide open and filled with a frozen terror, seemed to peer into a dimension that Marcus could not access. And then he noticed the symbols carved into the floor around the body, sharp, deliberate, almost ritualistic. Circles interwoven with jagged lines, stains darker than the surrounding grime marking their intersections. A sudden noise, a hiss from above, made him snap his head toward the staircase. The upper floors were dark, silent, but for that sound, a whisper, almost inhuman, like wind passing through cracked bone. Marcus drew his gun, heart pounding. Every sense was alert, every muscle coiled like a spring. He stepped cautiously toward the staircase. The stairs creaked under his weight, the sound echoing through the building like a chorus of moans. Each step seemed to stretch the air, prolong the suspense, until he reached the second floor. Here, the hallway was narrower, walls closer, the smell of decay stronger. Shadows moved in the corners of his vision, always just beyond clarity. And then he saw her. A woman, or at least a figure resembling one, standing at the far end of the hallway. Her hair was long, dark, matted with rain, her dress torn and hanging unevenly. She tilted her head unnaturally, as if observing Marcus with a curiosity that chilled him to the bone. She didn't move when he raised his flashlight. Her eyes, black as voids, reflected nothing but darkness. "Hey!" Marcus barked, voice echoing off the peeling walls. "Are you all right?" The figure tilted her head further, and then the whisper came, low, unintelligible, a susurration that seemed to crawl along the walls. Marcus felt the hair on his neck stand on end. The sound was not human, not entirely. It carried a resonance that seemed to dig into his chest, vibrating through him like a warning. He advanced slowly, gun trained on her, every step measured. Then she moved, jerky, unnatural, as if her limbs obeyed some malevolent choreography. She vanished into the shadow of a doorway. Marcus rushed forward, kicking the door open, only to find an empty room, the walls smeared with a dark substance that gleamed wetly under his flashlight. He gagged slightly at the odor, recognizing it now as iron, the unmistakable scent of blood. Something shifted behind him, and he spun around. Nothing. But the air had changed, heavier now, as though the building itself were pressing in on him. The whispers grew louder, overlapping, a cacophony that made his head spin. He backed up slowly, trying to maintain control, but the hallway seemed to stretch, elongate impossibly, and the light flickered violently. And then he saw it, a small figure at the base of the stairs, almost childlike, pale and thin, with eyes too large for its face. It raised a hand, pointing toward the ground floor. Marcus's pulse quickened. What are you?" he asked, voice cracking. The figure didn't respond, only shivered and then ran down the stairs, vanishing into the darkness below. Marcus followed, descending carefully, every creak of the wooden steps echoing like gunshots. At the bottom, the apartment block seemed to shift subtly, hallways rearranging themselves, doors appearing where there had been none moments ago. He blinked, disoriented. This was no longer a normal building, this was a trap, alive and watching. In the lobby, he noticed movement near the back wall, where a mirror hung cracked and fogged. The reflection showed not just himself, but shadows moving independently, shapes contorting behind him that did not exist in reality. He spun, gun raised, and the reflection smiled, a grin too wide, stretching beyond human anatomy. A voice, now unmistakably close, whispered directly into his ear, "You shouldn't have come here." Marcus whirled, finding only emptiness, the echo of the whisper lingering like smoke. And then the door behind him slammed shut, with a force that rattled the walls. He tried to open it, but it would not budge. The building was now entirely his prison. From the darkness above, something fell, a blackened, twisted thing, landing with a wet thud. Marcus recoiled, flashlight catching a glimpse. Human features, yet grotesquely altered, skin stretched, eyes hollowed, mouth frozen in a silent scream. The air seemed to pulse with anticipation, as if the building itself were savoring his fear. Marcus took a step back, nearly tripping over the ritual symbols on the floor. And then he understood, they were not merely decorative. They were anchors, binding something powerful, something ancient, something that had waited long enough in the shadows of Ravenwood. The whispers intensified, now speaking in a rhythm, almost chanting. The figure of the woman reappeared at the top of the stairs, her movement slower now, deliberate, as if savoring every moment of the terror she inspired. "Detective," she said finally, her voice human, but layered with something else, something alien, otherworldly. "You wanted answers, now you will see." The floor beneath Marcus seemed to pulse, the cracks glowing faintly, veins of light spreading like molten veins. The shadows moved independently, crawling along the walls, the ceiling, consuming the light. Marcus raised his gun, but he knew, deep down, that this was beyond bullets. This was not a crime scene. This was a threshold, and he was standing on it. A scream, far below, echoed through the building, followed by silence. Marcus strained his ears, trying to locate the source. The lobby seemed to stretch into infinity, the walls dissolving into darkness, the symbols glowing brighter, consuming his vision. The woman's voice echoed again, "The night has chosen you, detective. There is no turning back." And then the lights went out completely. In the absolute darkness, Marcus felt the air shift, carrying with it 1,000 silent screams, each one threading through his mind, each one a warning, each one a promise. Something moved close, too close, and he knew that whatever awaited him, it had been patient for decades, watching, learning, waiting for someone foolish enough to enter. He swallowed hard, heart pounding in a rhythm that matched the building's own pulse. His flashlight flickered weakly, revealing a corridor that should not exist, lined with doors that opened onto rooms that defied reality. And somewhere, far away, he heard the faintest echo of footsteps, many footsteps, approaching, slow, deliberate, inexorable. Marcus realized, with a cold certainty, that Ravenwood had always been hiding its true face. And now, he was seeing it for the first time. The horror in the night was not just a story, not just a legend, it was alive, and it had chosen him as its witness, and perhaps its next victim. The detective braced himself, knowing that the first night had only just begun. Marcus's mind raced as he stood in the pitch-black corridor, trying to make sense of what he had just witnessed. The air was thick, almost viscous, pressing against his chest with each breath. He forced himself to focus, to remember every training exercise he had endured over his years as a detective. Yet none of it prepared him for this, an apartment block that seemed alive, pulsating with a malevolent intelligence, where shadows had substance and fear was tangible. He took a cautious step forward, the weak beam of his flashlight struggling against the suffocating darkness. Every creak of the floorboards sounded like a scream, each echo bouncing off walls that were no longer static, but shifting, breathing. The symbols etched into the floor glowed faintly, forming a labyrinthine pattern that seemed to rearrange itself with every glance. Marcus realized that he could not rely on logic here. The building defied the rules of the natural world. From somewhere above, he heard the scraping of nails across plaster, slow and deliberate. It was a sound that conjured instinctual terror, primal and unrelenting. Marcus followed the noise, stepping lightly despite the temptation to flee, driven by the part of him that still clung to duty. As he ascended another staircase, the shadows parted just enough for him to glimpse the source. A figure crouched on the railing of the upper landing, impossibly thin, its limbs elongated and bent at strange angles. Its head jerked unnaturally, twisting as it observed him with eyes that glimmered with a predatory intelligence. The whispering began again, this time louder, overlapping in a chorus of voices, each one layered over the other, speaking in a language Marcus did not recognize, but somehow understood. It spoke of punishment, of trespass, of a debt owed. Marcus's stomach churned. This was no longer a matter of investigation. He had walked into a nightmare, and every instinct screamed at him to turn back. But something compelled him forward, a need to understand what force had claimed this building and those who had entered it before him. The stories he had heard as a child, about Ravenwood being cursed, dismissed as folklore, now had a terrifying clarity. On the landing ahead, a door appeared that had not been there moments before. Its surface was warped, as if it had been submerged underwater for years, yet the handle gleamed fresh and new. Marcus approached cautiously and turned the knob. The door creaked open, revealing a room bathed in a sickly, phosphorescent light. Inside, the walls were lined with mirrors, each reflecting a different version of Marcus, none of them alive, all twisted in expressions of horror and pain. The air was cold, each exhale visible as vapor, and a pungent smell of iron and decay filled the room. On the floor, more symbols glowed, forming a circular pattern around a figure lying motionless. It was the same woman he had seen earlier. Her body was sprawled unnaturally, eyes closed, lips slightly parted as though in mid-whisper. As he approached, the mirrors shifted. The reflections multiplied, and he saw dozens of her faces staring back at him, each one more grotesque than the last, eyes hollow, mouths frozen in silent screams. A sudden chill swept through the room, extinguishing his flashlight. Darkness enveloped him, and when the beam flickered back to life, she was standing, eyes open, a smile stretching impossibly across her face. Her voice, now clearer, resonated through the mirrors. "You shouldn't have come, detective." Marcus raised his gun, shaking, but his hand felt heavy, as if the darkness itself was resisting him. He fired once, twice, each shot echoing with an unnatural reverberation. The woman did not flinch. Instead, the mirrors rippled like water, distorting his reflection, until he could no longer distinguish himself from the images of terror surrounding him. Then, without warning, the floor beneath him shifted. The glowing symbols flared, illuminating the room in harsh, blinding light. Marcus stumbled, nearly falling, and realized that the very architecture of the building was bending around him. Walls stretched and twisted, hallways extending impossibly, doors opening into spaces that defied logic. He was trapped in a living labyrinth, one that responded to his fear. Through the chaos, he heard a whisper, soft and almost tender, calling his name. Marcus, Marcus, it was the childlike figure from before, the one who had disappeared down the stairs. It appeared again, hovering just beyond the shifting walls, small and fragile looking, yet emanating a strange aura of authority. "This is the way," it said, pointing toward a corridor that seemed less warped, less alive. Marcus followed, heart pounding. Every step felt like moving through water, each breath a battle. Shadows clung to him, slithering along his legs, trying to pull him into the darkness. He forced himself forward, clutching the flashlight like a lifeline. The corridor led to a spiral staircase descending into the bowels of the building. The whispers grew louder, now chanting in an incomprehensible rhythm, vibrating in his chest and skull. Marcus descended, each step bringing him closer to the source of the malevolence. At the bottom, he found a chamber unlike any he had ever seen. The walls were black, pulsating, covered with a slick, organic substance that seemed to writhe and move. In the center of the room was an altar, surrounded by more glowing symbols. On it lay the remains of past victims, bodies contorted and frozen in grotesque postures, faces twisted in expressions of eternal terror. Marcus's stomach turned. He had seen death before, but this was ritualistic, intentional, a perverse devotion to something beyond comprehension. He realized with a cold certainty that the building itself was an entity, feeding on fear, feeding on life, accumulating power through the terror of those who entered. A sudden movement caught his eye. The woman stepped from the shadows, closer this time, her smile wider, more unnatural. Behind her, the walls themselves seemed to pulse in rhythm with her heartbeat. The child figure appeared at her side, whispering in that same eerie, melodic tone. "You see," the woman said, "all who enter become part of the story. All who trespass are written into the night." Marcus felt a compulsion to speak, to demand answers, but the words caught in his throat. He realized he was staring into something ancient, something patient, something that had waited centuries for intruders foolish enough to awaken it. The ground beneath him trembled. The symbols flared brighter, casting grotesque shadows that danced across the walls. Marcus backed away, but there was nowhere to run. The shadows coalesced, forming shapes that reached out with clawed hands, mouths opening in silent screams that seemed to pierce his mind. He raised his gun once more, aiming at the woman, but before he could fire, the child figure stepped forward, raising a hand. "Not yet," it whispered. He must see it. The room shifted again. Marcus felt his body being drawn toward the altar, as if invisible hands were guiding him. The woman's eyes gleamed with anticipation, the shadows pressing closer. He struggled, but the pull was irresistible. At the altar, Marcus saw something that made his blood run cold. A figure, indistinct yet horrifyingly familiar, lay bound, writhing in silent agony. Its eyes were wide, pleading, but the face was his own. He recoiled, stumbling backward, only to find the walls closing in, the shadows pressing tighter, the chanting voices reaching a fevered pitch. The child spoke again, softer this time, almost sorrowfully. "To understand, you must become the witness. To survive, you must confront the night." Marcus's mind reeled. The room was spinning, symbols glowing, shadows writhing, and the woman's grin stretched impossibly, teeth too sharp, eyes too black. He realized, in that instant, that escape was no longer an option. He was trapped, ensnared in a nightmare that bent reality itself. The whispers turned into screams, the shadows solidifying, the walls pulsating like the heartbeat of a living creature. Marcus braced himself, knowing that the first test of his endurance had begun. And as the woman extended a hand toward him, the shadows leaping in her wake, he understood that the horror in the night was not merely a legend. It was a sentient force, ancient, unyielding, and it had claimed him as its next witness, its next story. Time and space no longer made sense. The room stretched, contracted, the ceiling dissolving into darkness, the floor pulsating beneath him. Every fear, every doubt, every memory of pain he had ever known was amplified, drawn into the vortex of the building's power. Marcus's only thought, over and over, was survival. But survival in a place where reality itself was twisted, where shadows had life, and where fear was currency, was no longer a simple task. He knew the night had only just begun, and he had no idea if he would survive its endless horrors. The chamber seemed to stretch infinitely, walls bending like they were drawn from some nightmare logic, floors tilting in impossible angles, shadows stretching and compressing as if alive. Marcus's heart pounded, each beat echoing through his chest like a drum of impending doom. The woman with the impossible grin remained at the altar, her gaze locked on him, while the child figure lingered just behind her, whispering in that strange, melodic cadence that pried at the edges of his sanity. Marcus tried to move, but his legs felt heavy, as though the floor itself resisted his steps. He glanced down and realized the symbols beneath his feet were no longer etched, but throbbing, veins of luminescent light pulsing as if feeding on his presence. Every instinct screamed to flee, yet a part of him, one that had survived countless violent encounters in the city, told him that flight without understanding would lead to death here. The woman spoke again, her voice like silk dragged across broken glass. "Do you see now, detective? This is not a building. This is a vessel. Every story, every terror, every soul that has walked these halls contributes to its power. And now you will add yours." Marcus steadied himself, gun raised, though he knew bullets could not touch what moved in the shadows. The air vibrated with whispers, 1,000 voices layered over one another, some crying, some begging, some laughing with cruel amusement. The shadows responded, stretching toward him like long, thin fingers of smoke, reaching for his arms, his legs, even his thoughts. He forced his legs to move, stepping backward along the altar's perimeter. Each step seemed to elongate, the floor stretching into nothingness. He realized that the room had no fixed dimensions, its geometry was a lie, shaped by the building's will. Marcus's mind raced, trying to apply logic to illogic, trying to find a pattern in chaos. Yet every angle, every line, every shadow defied reason. Suddenly, the mirrors along the walls shifted, and in their reflective surfaces, Marcus saw scenes from his past. His childhood home, his mother screaming as he fell off his bicycle, the first corpse he had examined on the job, moments of failure, moments of shame, moments of pain. The mirrors did not lie, they amplified, distorted, and weaponized memory. A cold hand brushed against his shoulder, and he spun around, gun aimed. No one was there. Only shadows lingered, moving independently, whispering his name. "Marcus, Marcus, you cannot leave." The child figure floated closer, its small form wreathed in a dim glow. "You must see it to understand," it said. Its voice was almost gentle, yet threaded with something ancient and dangerous. "The building consumes fear, yes, but it also feeds on understanding. The more you see, the more it grows and the more it reveals." Marcus swallowed hard, forcing himself to focus. "Reveals what?" he demanded, though his voice trembled. The woman laughed, a sound that reverberated through the chamber like breaking glass. "Everything," she said. "Every secret, every sin, every terror you thought buried. Ravenwood is patient. It waits. It watches. And it ensures that none leave unchanged." As she spoke, the room seemed to ripple, and Marcus felt a strange compulsion to approach the altar. The child figure gestured subtly, and despite his fear, he took a tentative step forward. The air thickened, and a cold presence pressed against his mind, probing, sifting through memories, fear, and guilt. The altar's surface was slick with an oily substance, reflecting the distorted shapes of shadows that writhed like living things. Marcus's flashlight caught a movement beneath the altar. He bent down, heart hammering, and saw a series of small objects, trinkets, personal items, fragments of lives once lived. A watch stopped at 3:17, a torn photograph, a locket containing a lock of hair, a child's toy stained dark. Each item seemed charged with emotion, a residual echo of the person it had belonged to. The woman's smile widened. "Every fear leaves a mark. Every soul contributes. You see, detective, this is why you were brought here. To witness. To understand. To remember. You will become part of the history, whether you survive or not. Marcus's mind recoiled. This was no ordinary haunting. This was predation. The building was alive, feeding, growing, learning. His instincts screamed at him to resist, yet every step deeper brought a strange clarity. He realized that to survive, he had to understand the rules of this place, and perhaps, if he was clever, he could manipulate them. He glanced toward the child figure, seeking guidance. Its expression was inscrutable, the soft glow around it flickering like candlelight in wind. You must confront the fear, not flee from it, it whispered. Only by facing it can you pass through. Marcus took a deep breath, forcing himself to focus on a memory, a fear he had carried long, hidden in the deepest corners of his mind. His first case, a brutal murder of a young girl. He had failed to save her. The memory surged, vivid, sharp, the pain and guilt clawing at his chest. And he did not run. He stared it down, confronting the horror he had long buried. The shadows recoiled slightly, the whispers faltering. The woman's grin remained, but the intensity of her presence shifted, as though she were intrigued by his courage. The child figure nodded faintly. Good, it said. Now you see. Fear is a tool here. Understanding is your shield. The night will test you further. Be ready. Marcus moved forward, feeling a strange synergy between fear and clarity. The corridor ahead was still warped, the walls pulsating, yet he felt a sense of direction, a thread through the chaos. The woman and child vanished into the shadows as he advanced, leaving him alone with the altar and the echoes of past terrors. A sudden noise, like metal scraping stone, echoed from the far end of the chamber. Marcus tensed, gun ready, and approached slowly. In the flickering light, he saw a door materialize, one that seemed older than time itself, carved with symbols he had never seen, yet instinctively understood. The whispers now came from behind that door, urgent, insistent, beckoning him forward. Marcus's hand shook as he reached for the handle. The metal was cold, impossibly so, and a shiver ran down his spine. With a deep breath, he pushed it open. The room beyond was entirely different. The darkness receded slightly, revealing a vast hall, walls lined with portraits, each face painted with horrifying realism, eyes seeming to follow him as he stepped inside. The portraits were of people who had entered this place before him, all frozen in expressions of sheer terror. Some appeared to be screaming, some weeping, some silently pleading. Marcus realized with horror that these were the lost souls consumed by the building, trapped within its walls, becoming part of its history. And in the center of the hall, standing atop a raised dais, was a figure cloaked in shadow, larger and more imposing than the woman. Its presence dominated the room, commanding the shadows, orchestrating the whispers. Marcus's breath caught. This was the source, the entity that animated the building, the horror in the night itself. The child figure floated to his side. This is the heart, it whispered. Face it. Understand it. Only then can you hope to leave. Marcus's mind reeled. Every instinct screamed to flee, yet the path forward demanded confrontation. He stepped closer to the dais, each footfall heavy with dread, each heartbeat echoing through the hall. The cloaked figure extended a hand, not threatening, but commanding. You have seen the beginnings, it said, voice deep, resonant, eternal. The night has revealed itself to you. Now, detective, will you endure? Will you witness the true horror, or will you become another whisper among many? Marcus steadied himself, gripping his gun, though he knew it was now symbolic. He was ready to face whatever lay ahead. Whatever the building had planned, he would not turn away. The shadows surged, the whispers crescendoed, the walls pulsed. The horror in the night was awake, aware, and it had chosen its witness. Marcus inhaled deeply, stepping onto the dais, prepared to confront the entity at the heart of Ravenwood. Marcus stood on the dais, the oppressive presence of the cloaked figure towering over him like a mountain of shadows. The air was thick with energy, vibrating with a cadence that seemed to sync with his own heartbeat. Each breath tasted of iron and decay, yet beneath it was something older, something ancient that defied logic, as if the very atmosphere was saturated with history and dread. Marcus realized that he was no longer merely in a building, he was inside the consciousness of the horror itself. The cloaked figure spoke again, its voice resonating through the hall, stirring the portraits lining the walls. "You have come far, detective," it said, each word heavy with weight. "Many before you have faltered. Many have been devoured by fear. Yet you endure. Why do you not flee?" Marcus swallowed hard, the echo of his own fear making his throat tight. "Because I must understand," he said, his voice firmer than he felt. "I cannot let this consume me, or them." He gestured vaguely toward the portraits. "All these people, they deserve to be free, not trapped as part of this nightmare." A ripple passed through the hall, as though the figure was amused, intrigued, maybe even impressed. "Understand," it said. "So many seek escape without comprehension. Escape is fleeting, understanding is eternity. Witness, detective. Witness the truths hidden in shadows." The floor beneath Marcus glowed faintly, the pulsing veins of light from earlier reappearing, snaking toward the cloaked figure. Shadows rose from them, twisting into forms that resembled people, faces, and creatures he had never imagined, moving in slow, deliberate patterns, enacting scenes of terror, sorrow, and violence. The whispers rose into a dissonant symphony, voices overlapping memories and screams, forming a tapestry of human fear. Marcus realized that the entity fed not just on fear, but on perception, on recognition, on acknowledgement of horror. Each shadow was a story, each whisper a fragment of a soul's suffering, each figure a testament to the building's cruel patience. The child figure floated closer. "To survive, you must see what lies beneath," it whispered, voice almost musical, yet carrying the weight of inevitability. "You must witness without flinching. Only then does the night respect you." Marcus's stomach churned, but he nodded. He focused on the shadows, on the figures acting out their terrors. Each one was a mirror of human fear, the isolation of being trapped, the helplessness of watching loved ones suffer, the knowledge of inevitable death. He felt each one acutely, a psychic echo hammering against his mind. Yet through it all, he forced himself to observe without succumbing. The cloaked figure extended a hand toward the swirling shadows. "Behold, detective. The lives that have entered here. The essence captured, woven into the very walls. And now, you," its gaze fixed him with the intensity of a predator assessing prey. "Will witness the final truth." Suddenly, the hall seemed to expand, walls stretching into infinite darkness. The portraits along the walls twisted and contorted, some crying out in silent screams, others laughing with malicious glee. Shadows detached themselves from the floor, from the walls, from the ceiling, rising like smoke to form scenes around him. Marcus found himself in the center of a theater of horrors, a nightmare brought to life, every fear he had ever felt, or imagined laid bare, manifesting in shapes and movements that defied human comprehension. He saw a family, frozen in a moment of agony, the parents' eyes wide with panic as their child vanished into a shadow. He saw a young man, hands tied, screaming as unseen forces ripped his voice from his throat. He saw himself, younger, powerless, witnessing a murder he could not prevent. Each scene struck him with the full weight of memory and imagination, an assault on his psyche. The child figure's voice broke through the chaos. "Do not turn away. The horror grows when it is ignored. Strength comes from acknowledgement. Endurance comes from seeing." Marcus clenched his fists, forcing himself to remain present. He could feel the entity's awareness probing his mind, testing him, seeking the point where fear would fracture his resolve. And yet, he did not flinch. He allowed himself to see, to feel, to bear witness. Each terror he faced became a thread of understanding, a shield against the overwhelming presence of the horror. The cloaked figure moved closer, its shadow stretching impossibly, wrapping around Marcus like a living cloak. "You are learning," it said. "Few survive the first night. Fewer still comprehend the purpose. The building is a mirror. The horror is a teacher. You may yet endure, if your resolve is true." Marcus's pulse raced. He realized he was being tested not physically, but spiritually, mentally, psychologically. This was a trial of endurance, of perception, of will. If he wavered, if he gave in to instinctual terror, he would be absorbed, become another whisper in the tapestry, another story etched into the building's consciousness. The shadows converged, rising into a massive form, the collective embodiment of all the fear he had witnessed. Its eyes glowed with a spectral light, a gaze that pierced his mind, reading his thoughts, his memories, his regrets. Marcus swallowed hard, meeting the gaze, refusing to look away. "You understand now," the figure whispered, voice echoing with infinite depth. "To survive is to witness. To endure is to see. Only the one who perceives without yielding may pass through the night." Marcus felt the shadows recede slightly, the suffocating presence loosening its grip. The hall stabilized, the walls no longer pulsing violently, the portraits assuming a still, silent watch. The cloaked figure's grin, once menacing, softened into something almost approving. "You have taken your first steps, detective," it said. "But the night is long. The horror is patient. There are more trials to endure, more truths to witness. And the building hungers still." The child figure hovered at his side, nodding. "You have learned to see, but to survive, you must also act. The horror tests patience and courage. Fear alone cannot defeat it. Understanding and resolve are your weapons." Marcus exhaled slowly, muscles trembling from the strain. He realized he had endured a glimpse into the core of the horror, had faced the collective terror of countless victims, and had survived. Yet the path ahead was uncertain, every shadow a potential threat, every whisper a challenge to his sanity. The cloaked figure stepped back, merging with the darkness, leaving Marcus alone on the dais. The hall contracted, folding back into itself, the corridor beyond reappearing, twisted yet navigable. The whispers subsided into a murmured echo, the pulsating light of the symbols dimming. Marcus understood this was only the beginning. The building had shown him a fragment, a lesson in endurance and perception. The true test lay ahead, deeper in the bowels of the horror, where reality would twist further, and fear alone would not suffice. He stepped down from the dais, determination hardening his resolve. The child figure floated ahead, leading the way toward the next corridor, the next room, the next trial. Marcus followed, heart pounding, senses sharpened, prepared to face whatever horrors awaited him in the endless night. And somewhere deep within the shadows, the cloaked figure watched, patient, eternal, a sentinel over the twisted realm of Ravenwood. It waited, knowing that Marcus's courage would be tested again, and again, until either he endured, or the horror claimed another story for its infinite collection. Marcus moved forward, the whispers trailing behind him like a sinister lullaby. The first trial had been survived, but the night was far from over, and he could feel the building's hunger growing with each step. The horror in the night was awakening fully, and Marcus would have to face its most intimate, terrifying truths yet to come. Marcus followed the child figure through the winding corridors, each step taking him deeper into the building's unnerving heart. The walls, once familiar in their warped, pulsing way, now shifted constantly, forming new pathways, staircases, and doorways. Some corridors appeared endless, stretching into darkness, while others looped back on themselves, leading Marcus in dizzying circles. The air was thick, heavy with an indescribable scent, part decay, part smoke, part something far older, as if the building itself exhaled the essence of centuries of fear. The child floated a few steps ahead, luminous in the darkness, guiding him silently. Marcus's flashlight flickered intermittently, unable to pierce the black that seemed alive, curling around him in tendrils. Each whisper he had heard before now surged into a chorus, overlapping languages, sounds, and tones that vibrated inside his chest. Some were pleading, some warning, some cackling with cruel delight. He swallowed hard, trying to steady his racing heart, feeling the weight of the building pressing down on him, as if it could sense his thoughts, his intentions, and his very fear. They reached a door unlike any he had seen. It was massive, carved from dark, unidentifiable wood, and etched with symbols that glowed faintly, pulsing in rhythm with the whispers. Marcus's hand trembled as he reached for the handle. The child floated close and whispered, "Behind this door lies what the night fears most. If you falter here, your journey ends." Marcus took a deep breath and pushed it open. The room beyond was enormous, far larger than the building's exterior suggested possible. The floor was slick, reflecting a dim light that had no source, like liquid glass. Shadows moved independently across the surface, forming shapes that resembled faces, hands, creatures, all twisting, writhing, morphing into ever more grotesque forms. At the center of the room was a massive pool, black as tar, its surface rippling without cause. From it rose figures, half-formed, their faces a torment of agony and anger, some reaching for him, others floating above the surface like marionettes, in some dark ritual. Marcus's stomach churned, but he forced himself to focus. He had survived the trials of observation, the tests of endurance and understanding. Now, he faced direct confrontation, the manifestations of the building's collected horror, the distilled essence of fear itself. The child floated beside him, luminous yet small, a stark contrast to the overwhelming terror around them. A voice, deep and resonant, reverberated through the room. "So, the detective reaches the heart," it said. Marcus's breath caught. He knew immediately that this was the entity he had glimpsed from the dais, the core of the horror. Its words were like waves, carrying weight and intent, echoing in his mind. "You have seen the surface, felt the pulse, endured shadows. Now, you shall witness your own essence, and the night shall decide your fate." The pool began to shift, rippling unnaturally. From its black surface emerged a figure, his own face, twisted with terror, eyes wide with primal fear. Marcus stumbled back, heart pounding. The reflection was not mere illusion, it moved independently, mimicking his thoughts, his worst fears, and amplifying them into grotesque reality. "You see yourself," the voice said. "But this is not all. The night will show you what lurks beneath, what you have buried, what you dare not confront." The black figure lunged, its movements exaggerated and unnatural, stretching impossibly before striking toward Marcus. He raised his gun, firing once, twice, but the bullets passed through as if the apparition were made of shadow and nightmare. He realized then that combat was useless. Only understanding, only endurance, could save him. Marcus forced himself to focus, recalling the child figure's words. He breathed deeply, centering himself, confronting the reflection. It screamed, its voice his own amplified through layers of despair and fear. Marcus met its gaze and forced a calm into his own mind, acknowledging the terror without yielding to it. Slowly, the figure faltered, its movements jerky, uncoordinated, until it sank back into the blackness of the pool, defeated not by force, but by comprehension. The room trembled as if the pool itself had breathed a sigh. Shadows retreated slightly, the whispering ebbing, leaving Marcus with a hollow, ringing silence. The child figure nodded, hovering beside him. "Well done," it whispered. "You have faced the essence within. But the night is patient. Its tests are many, and the depths have yet to be revealed. Marcus's legs shook, and he felt a cold sweat along his spine. He knew this was only the beginning. The building's hunger was insatiable, its methods patient and deliberate. Each room, each corridor, each manifestation was a lesson, a trial, a measure of his will. And though he had survived this confrontation, he could feel the shadows, still lurking, still watching, always hungry for fear. From the far end of the room, a staircase materialized, spiraling downwards into darkness that seemed to swallow all light. Marcus felt a compulsion, a subtle pull, urging him forward. The child floated to the base of the staircase and pointed downward. The next trial awaits. Beyond lies revelation. Beyond lies understanding. And beyond that, survival. Marcus gritted his teeth and descended. Each step was heavier than the last, the air growing colder, denser. The walls seemed to close in, squeezing, compressing, yet within the pressure, he felt a faint pulse of clarity, the building's way of acknowledging his perseverance. The whispers returned, softer now, layered with curiosity rather than menace. At the bottom, he entered a cavernous hall unlike anything he had previously encountered. The floor was uneven, carved with channels that held dark liquid, moving slowly as if alive. Figures moved in the liquid, submerged and thrashing, their cries muffled yet audible, reverberating through the room. He could feel the weight of every soul trapped, every terror accumulated, pressing against his consciousness. The cloaked figure emerged from the shadows, larger now, its presence dominating the hall. "The night watches, detective," it said. "And the night learns. Every choice, every fear, every reaction is observed. Do not falter, or you will join them in the depths." Marcus's pulse quickened, yet he moved forward, gripping his flashlight. Each step was a battle against instinct to flee, against the nausea and dread clawing at him. He forced himself to witness, to understand, to endure. Shadows stretched from the walls, weaving intricate patterns, merging with the liquid, forming shapes that defied natural laws, yet each one revealed a fragment of the building's nature, its purpose, and its power. The child figure floated beside him, whispering guidance. "Observe, detective. Comprehend. Do not react with fear alone. The horror respects the one who perceives, who endures, who faces truth without surrender." Marcus took a deep breath, moving deeper into the hall, and for the first time, he felt a subtle shift in the building's tone. The shadows were no longer entirely aggressive, they were evaluative, testing, almost curious. The entity had acknowledged his resilience, but he knew this was temporary. The night had only revealed fragments, and the depths of Ravenwood held far darker truths still. Ahead, a doorway opened, black void framed in twisted symbols. Marcus's mind screamed caution, yet he advanced, understanding that confrontation and comprehension were inseparable. Whatever lay beyond this threshold, he knew he could not turn back. The night had chosen him as its witness, and he would either endure the full revelation, or become another whisper etched into the horror's infinite narrative. The child floated ahead, glowing faintly in the oppressive darkness. "Prepare yourself, detective," it whispered. "The true heart of the night awaits. What you see next will define you, or consume you." Marcus gritted his teeth and stepped forward, into the unknown. Marcus crossed the threshold into the next chamber, and the world itself seemed to bend around him. The doorway closed silently behind him, leaving only darkness and a faint, pulsating glow from the floor beneath. The air was thick, almost viscous, as if it resisted his movement, pressing against his skin, making each breath a labor. Shadows curled and stretched, forming shapes that were at once familiar and grotesque, his past fears, his memories, and the twisted imaginings of nightmares long buried. The child figure floated silently beside him, its glow now dim, subdued by the overwhelming presence in the chamber. "This is the crucible," it whispered. Here, the night tests not just fear, but resolve, perception, and understanding. Fail, and your essence will be consumed. Endure, and you may yet see the purpose behind the horror. Marcus's flashlight flickered as he swept its beam across the room. The walls were covered in layers of writing, not letters, but symbols and glyphs that seemed to shift and wriggle, as if alive. They formed patterns too complex for human comprehension, yet somehow his mind grasped fragments, visions of pain, loss, and anguish, intertwined with glimpses of forbidden knowledge. The building itself was a repository of every terror, every secret, every shadow ever conceived within its walls. He stepped cautiously forward. The floor beneath his feet pulsed with light, guiding him in a path that was both random and deliberate. As he moved, the whispers rose, layering over one another, voices speaking languages he had never heard yet understanding him nonetheless. They spoke of judgment, of trial, of the inevitability of confronting oneself. From the far end of the room, a figure emerged from the darkness. It was the woman with the impossible grin, her eyes glinting like black mirrors. Behind her, the cloaked figure waited, larger than before, radiating power and intelligence that seemed to saturate the very air. Marcus's heart raced, but he forced himself to focus, remembering the lessons of observation, endurance, and understanding. Fear alone could not save him, comprehension was his weapon. "You have endured much," the cloaked figure said, voice deep and resonant. "But the crucible requires more. Here, you face not the fears of the past, but the truth within yourself. To survive, you must confront what you deny, what you bury, what you fear to remember." Marcus felt a cold chill crawl down his spine. The woman stepped closer, each movement fluid, almost hypnotic. "Your memories will betray you," she whispered, voice like silk sliding over broken glass. "Your regrets will twist into horrors you cannot escape. And your sins, oh, detective, your sins will be your chains." The walls began to shift, bending inwards, stretching outwards, dissolving into shadows that formed intricate patterns. Figures emerged from the darkness, phantoms of Marcus's past, people he had failed, innocents whose lives had been altered or destroyed by his actions. Each one stared at him with eyes full of accusation, sorrow, and pain. Marcus's stomach churned as he recognized them, the girl from his first murder case, frozen in terror, the victims he had not saved, their faces twisted in silent screams, colleagues he had betrayed, friends he had failed to protect. The shadows moved closer, circling him like a predator closing in. The child figure's voice cut through the cacophony. "Do not flee, detective. Witness. Understand. Only by facing the truth, without succumbing to fear, can you pass through." Marcus took a deep breath, forcing his legs to move forward. Each step felt like wading through water, each breath a struggle. He focused on the faces, the memories, the regrets. He allowed himself to see them fully, to confront them without turning away. The shadows hissed and recoiled slightly, as if surprised by his courage, or perhaps by his recognition of their purpose. "You are learning," the cloaked figure intoned. "The night respects those who endure. But respect is not salvation. Comprehension is the path, and the path is treacherous." The room shifted again, the shadows coalescing into a single, massive figure, a reflection of Marcus himself, tall, distorted, every flaw and fear exaggerated to grotesque proportions. It lunged at him, moving with unnatural speed, its eyes burning with accusation and malice. Marcus raised his gun, but he knew it would not stop this apparition. Instead, he focused on his understanding, his resolve, and the lessons the child figure had imparted. He did not flinch, did not retreat. He met the reflection's gaze and allowed himself to feel every fear, every regret, every failure, acknowledging them fully. The figure screamed, a sound that shook the room, reverberating through the walls, through the shadows, through Marcus's very mind. And then, slowly, it began to shrink, dissolving into mist that swirled around him before vanishing entirely. A profound silence followed, the oppressive weight of the room easing slightly. The walls stabilized, the shadows retreating, leaving Marcus alone with the glowing path forward. The child figure floated before him, nodding in approval. "You have endured the crucible," it whispered. "You have faced yourself and not fled. But the night is far from finished. Deeper trials await, where understanding and courage will be tested further." Marcus's muscles ached, his mind reeling from the confrontation, but he pressed on. Each step into the darkness was a step into the unknown, each shadow a potential threat, each whisper a lesson. The building seemed to acknowledge his resolve, pulsing rhythmically beneath his feet, guiding him toward the next chamber. At the end of the corridor, a doorway emerged, framed by twisted, glowing symbols. Marcus hesitated, then stepped forward, the child figure floating beside him, illuminating the path. Beyond the doorway lay another room, darker, more oppressive than any he had yet encountered. The whispers had grown louder, more insistent, as if the building itself was aware of his approaching comprehension. The room opened into a vast hall, the ceiling lost in darkness, the floor covered with a thick mist. Shadows moved within the mist, forming shapes both human and inhuman, creatures born of fear and imagination. Marcus's flashlight cut through the gloom, revealing glimpses of the grotesque forms, each one a fragment of the building's consciousness, each one testing his endurance. From the center of the hall, a figure emerged, cloaked in darkness, its presence immense, overwhelming. The cloaked figure had returned, larger and more commanding than before, radiating a force that pressed against Marcus's mind, challenging his resolve. "You have seen much, detective," the figure intoned. "But true understanding requires more. You must endure what cannot be described, face what cannot be named, and survive what no human should witness. Only then will you comprehend the horror in its entirety." Marcus nodded, gripping his flashlight tightly. He understood now that fear alone would not defeat the building. Comprehension, endurance, and courage were his weapons. And he would need every ounce of his strength to face the trials still to come. The shadows shifted, the mist swirling around him, and Marcus stepped forward, prepared to confront the next manifestation of the horror in the night. The true heart of Ravenwood awaited, and he would face it head-on, with every memory, every fear, and every ounce of courage at his disposal. Marcus moved forward through the swirling mist, the floor beneath him seemingly alive, shifting with each step. The shadows coiled and writhed like serpents, following his every movement, whispering in voices that spoke simultaneously in countless tongues. Each whisper clawed at his mind, dredging memories he had long buried, secrets he had kept hidden even from himself. The air was thick with the scent of damp earth and decay, a reminder that the building itself was breathing, living, feeding on every thought and emotion he carried. The child figure hovered beside him, its soft glow cutting through the darkness, but even its light seemed to struggle against the suffocating weight of the hall. "You are nearing the threshold, detective," it said. "The heart of the horror lies ahead. What you encounter next will test your understanding as much as your courage. Stand firm." Marcus swallowed hard and pressed onward. Shapes emerged from the mist, figures half-formed, as if carved from smoke and shadow, their features constantly shifting, mutating into grotesque parodies of human faces. They moved with deliberate intent, circling him, but never touching. Their whispers grew louder, layered over one another until it became a dissonant, maddening symphony of fear. At the center of the hall, a massive archway materialized, carved from an impossible black stone that seemed to absorb the dim light. The symbols etched into it pulsed rhythmically, like the heartbeat of the building itself. Marcus knew instinctively that this was the threshold the child had spoken of, the entry into the true heart of Ravenwood, where the horror's essence was concentrated and aware, ready to confront him directly. A low, resonant hum filled the air, vibrating through Marcus's chest and bones. He felt a presence, larger than any before, a consciousness that enveloped him, probing, assessing, weighing his resolve. From the shadows ahead, the cloaked figure emerged once more, taller and more commanding than he had ever seen it, radiating an aura that seemed to twist the very air around it. "You have come far," the figure said, its voice reverberating through the chamber and inside Marcus's mind simultaneously. "Few endure what you have endured. Fewer still understand. Yet comprehension alone is not enough. The final trial awaits, detective. You must confront not only what you fear, but what you are." The child floated closer. "Do not falter, detective," it whispered. "The horror seeks not to destroy, but to teach. To pass, you must recognize the self within the darkness. Accept it, or be consumed." Marcus stepped forward, feeling the shadows tighten around him, pressing in, whispering accusations, regrets, and fears. He saw fleeting images of himself, failures, mistakes, moments of cowardice, and the specter of his own mortality looming large. The mist thickened, wrapping around his legs, and he felt the weight of centuries of anguish pressing down. Suddenly, the shadows converged, forming a massive mirror-like surface in the center of the hall. Marcus approached cautiously, and as he looked into it, he did not see his reflection. Instead, he saw countless versions of himself, each one trapped in moments of fear, anger, guilt, and despair. The figures screamed silently, their eyes pleading, accusing, mourning. Marcus realized with horror that these were fragments of himself, the parts he had ignored, denied, or suppressed over a lifetime. The cloaked figure advanced, stepping through the shadows with a grace that was both terrifying and hypnotic. "Do you see yourself, detective?" it asked. "This is the truth you must confront. Not the fears of the building, not the shadows of others, but your own essence. Accept it, and endure. Reject it, and become yet another whisper in the walls." Marcus's chest tightened. The fragments of himself pressed in, their whispers merging into one unbearable scream. Every doubt, every failure, every hidden fear converged into a single, oppressive presence that threatened to crush him mentally and emotionally. He trembled, but he did not turn away. He drew a deep, shuddering breath and focused, forcing himself to acknowledge each fragment without judgment, without recoil. "I see you," he said aloud, his voice shaking but determined. "I see myself. I accept it, all of it. Fear, failure, guilt, anger, I accept that these are parts of me. They do not define me, but they are part of my story." The mirror rippled violently, the fragmented images writhing as if in pain, then slowly stabilizing. The shadows recoiled, hissing softly, and the oppressive weight around Marcus began to lift. The cloaked figure paused, observing him, its presence immense and unreadable. "You have done what few can," it intoned. "You have faced yourself fully, without surrendering to fear or denial. The horror acknowledges your comprehension. But this is not yet the end. The final judgment awaits. Beyond this threshold lies the culmination of the night, the place where the horror manifests in its truest form." The archway pulsed with dark light, beckoning him forward. Marcus swallowed hard, feeling exhaustion in his bones, but a renewed clarity in his mind. He had survived the trials of observation, the crucible of fear, and the confrontation with himself. Yet he knew that the most profound challenge awaited him, a confrontation not only with the building, but with the essence of the horror itself. The child figure floated before him, its glow steady now, almost reassuring. "You have proven resilience, detective. But the final step requires more than endurance. You must act with understanding. Only then can you hope to emerge from the night intact." Marcus nodded, steeling himself, and stepped through the archway. The air shifted immediately, thickening and vibrating with an energy that seemed alive. The room beyond was immense, its walls lost in shadow, the floor a dark reflective surface that mirrored nothing but the darkness itself. At the center, a towering figure of pure shadow coalesced, pulsating with power, radiating awareness, intelligence, and hunger. This was the horror in its truest form, the culmination of every fear, every soul, every fragment of terror that Ravenwood had ever absorbed. Marcus felt its gaze pierce through him, weighing his every thought, every fear, every memory. The whispers grew to a deafening crescendo, a cacophony of lost souls, each vying for recognition, for release, for revenge. Marcus's breath came in ragged gasps. He gripped his flashlight tightly, not as a weapon, but as a focus, a point of reality in the swirling chaos. He understood now that the horror was not merely a predator, it was a teacher, a mirror, a force of revelation. To survive, he would need every ounce of courage, clarity, and comprehension he possessed. The shadow figure loomed closer, and the whispers merged into a single, commanding voice that echoed inside his mind. Detective, witness, endure, comprehend, or be consumed. Marcus took a steadying breath, squared his shoulders, and stepped forward, ready to confront the ultimate horror, ready to face the culmination of the night, and prepared to test the limits of his mind and spirit against Ravenwood itself. Marcus stood before the colossal shadow, its presence stretching upward into the darkness beyond sight, pulsating like a living entity. Every fiber of his being screamed to flee, yet he rooted himself to the spot, gripping the flashlight like a lifeline. The whispers around him had evolved, forming distinct voices that spoke in tandem, some pleading, some mocking, some singing in haunting harmony. They were a chorus of everything he had feared, every failure he had endured, every secret buried within his soul. The child figure hovered close, its glow steady, illuminating only a small radius around Marcus. "This is the true heart of Ravenwood," it whispered. "Here, the horror confronts the essence of your being. Observe, comprehend, endure. Only then can you hope to prevail." The shadow figure shifted, and the misted floor rippled like a disturbed pond. Figures emerged from the darkness, formed from the very shadows of Marcus's own memories and imagination. Each one represented a moment of weakness, a choice made from fear, a betrayal of trust, a failure to act. They moved with purpose, circling him, their whispers amplifying the weight of guilt pressing on his mind. Marcus's pulse raced, but he focused on the child's advice: observe and comprehend. He did not fight the shadows, he did not scream. Instead, he faced each apparition, acknowledging its existence, understanding its origin, and silently forgiving both himself and the figures for their role in his past. Slowly, the shadows began to pause, their aggression softening, as if surprised by his refusal to recoil. The cloaked figure materialized beside the shadow, merging with the darkness, and becoming nearly indistinguishable. Its voice thundered through the hall, both external and inside Marcus's mind. Few survive to witness this. Fewer still comprehend the lesson. To face the horror is to face yourself. To endure is to accept all that you are, all that you have feared, all that you have denied. Marcus took a deep breath, centering himself. The figures coalesced into a single form, a mirror of himself, yet monstrous, a silhouette that embodied every flaw and fear he had ever experienced. Its eyes burned with an unnatural glow, burning not with malice, but with truth, an unflinching reflection of his entire life, every regret and hesitation laid bare. "You see yourself," the shadow intoned, voice like grinding stone. "You see all that you have hidden. Do you accept this, detective, or will you become yet another whisper in the walls of Ravenwood?" Marcus's vision blurred with tears he did not realize he was holding back. The weight of decades of guilt pressed against his chest, the accumulated grief, the missed opportunities, the lives altered by his choices. He remembered the first victim he could not save, the colleague whose trust he had betrayed, the countless moments when cowardice had dictated his actions. He could feel the pull of the darkness, urging him to collapse, to surrender, to disappear into the shadows. He drew in a trembling breath, and met the mirror image of himself head-on. "I accept it," he said firmly, voice cracking but resolute. I accept all that I am, all that I have done, all that I have failed to do. I will not hide from it. I will not run. I endure. For a moment, the shadow was still, as if assessing the truth in his words. The whispers subsided, the air stilled, and the mist seemed to thin slightly. The reflection shimmered, its monstrous features softening into a visage that resembled Marcus's own, but calmer, clearer, almost human. The cloaked figure spoke again, its tone almost approving. Endurance through comprehension. Recognition without surrender. Few can achieve this, detective. You are learning the language of the horror, the rhythm of the night. Yet, understanding alone will not end your trial. Action is required. Suddenly, the floor beneath Marcus's feet shifted violently, and the shadow lunged. Not a physical attack, but a surge of mental energy, a psychic wave that pushed against every corner of his consciousness. Images flashed in his mind, his childhood fears, losses, betrayals, and the countless victims of his career. Every emotion intensified, threatening to overwhelm him completely. Marcus staggered, but planted his feet firmly. He focused, recalling the lessons of observation, comprehension, and endurance. Each memory, each fear, each regret became a stepping stone rather than a weight. He allowed the surge to pass through him, accepting it, integrating it, and transforming it into clarity and resolve. The shadow recoiled slightly, hissing, as if it had not anticipated such resilience. The child figure's glow intensified, bathing Marcus in soft light, illuminating the path forward. "You are ready," it whispered. But beware, the final manifestation of the horror is not merely fear or reflection. It is creation itself. What you face next will be shaped by everything you have acknowledged and endured. From the center of the hall, the pool of black liquid began to rise, swirling upward, forming a vortex of shadows, light, and memories. The whispers coalesced into a single voice, neither malevolent nor benign, but powerful, echoing directly into Marcus's mind. "Witness the true horror, detective. Witness the creation of the night, the essence of fear, and the culmination of your journey. Will you endure, or be consumed?" Marcus felt the pulse of the building synchronize with his heartbeat. The vortex spun faster, drawing in shadows from every corner of the hall. Figures he had acknowledged, forgiven, and comprehended merged into it, creating a swirling entity of immense power. He realized that the horror was not merely a being, but a living, sentient force, a reflection of all human fear, amplified and concentrated into conscious form. He gritted his teeth, holding his flashlight steady as the vortex surged forward. The shadows twisted around him, but he did not flinch. Each step, each breath, each thought was deliberate, measured, and unwavering. He understood now that the horror respected recognition, endurance, and comprehension. Fear alone could not defeat it, but courage and insight could shield him from annihilation. The cloaked figure's voice thundered one last time. "Step forward, detective. Enter the heart of the horror. Witness. Endure. Comprehend. Only then will the night yield its truth." Marcus took a deep breath and stepped into the vortex, the swirling shadows and memories enveloping him. The world became a storm of sensation, light, shadow, sound, and thought all merging into one. He could feel every life, every fear, every regret, every scream, every whisper, passing through him, testing him, probing him, challenging his very essence. And yet, he did not collapse. He did not flinch. He endured. He understood. He faced the horror fully, acknowledging it, integrating it, and standing resolute at the center of the storm. For the first time since entering Ravenwood, he felt a subtle shift. The oppressive weight of the building began to ease, the whispers softened, and the vortex slowed. The shadows merged into a singular form, a towering, shimmering figure that radiated awareness, intelligence, and presence. It was not monstrous, nor entirely human, but something beyond comprehension, a being that embodied the totality of the night, the horror, and the building itself. The cloaked figure merged with this entity, its presence diffusing into the essence of the horror. The child floated beside Marcus, its glow steady, reassuring. "You have endured," it whispered. "But the night is patient. What lies ahead is not merely survival, but understanding. Only through comprehension will you emerge, not as prey, but as witness and participant in the horror's eternal narrative." Marcus's chest heaved, exhaustion and exhilaration intermingling. He knew that this trial was not the end, but a culmination of everything he had faced thus far. The true essence of the horror had revealed itself, yet he understood that the night had more tests, more revelations, more truths yet to confront. With measured steps, he moved forward, guided by the child figure, into the very heart of the horror, prepared to face whatever the night would unfold next. Marcus advanced into the heart of the horror, the air around him thick with an almost tangible tension. Every breath was a struggle, the darkness itself pressing against his lungs, the whispers wrapping around his mind like icy fingers. The glow of the child figure illuminated only the narrow path before him, leaving the rest of the vast chamber in utter, suffocating blackness. Shadows shifted constantly, forming shapes both human and monstrous, each one a fragment of memory, fear, or desire, and each seeming to watch him with intent. As he moved forward, the floor beneath him changed. No longer solid, it became translucent, like a thin sheet of glass suspended over endless darkness. Beneath it, he could see reflections, not just his own, but the amalgamation of every being the horror had ever consumed, faces frozen in silent screams or locked in eternal torment. The realization struck him, the building was not merely alive, it was sentient, aware, and recording every thought, every fear, every hesitation. It was cataloging him as both observer and participant, weaving his experiences into its ever-expanding consciousness. The cloaked figure emerged ahead, stepping from the shadows as if it had been waiting for this moment all along. Its form seemed less solid now, more like a ripple in the darkness, but its presence was undeniable, radiating authority and scrutiny. "You have come far, detective," it intoned. "Few reach this point, few are still unbroken. Yet comprehension alone is not sufficient. You must witness creation, and recognize the power that fear can summon when fully understood." A low hum began to emanate from the center of the chamber, vibrating through Marcus's chest and bones. From the darkness emerged forms more terrifying than anything he had previously encountered, creatures that defied anatomy, with limbs that bent impossibly, faces that twisted and multiplied, eyes that stared from every conceivable angle. They moved with deliberate, predatory intent, yet there was no malice in their motions, only an inquisitive awareness, as if they were evaluating him. The child floated closer, its small form glowing steadily. "This is the threshold, detective. Beyond lies the manifestation of the horror itself. Your courage, your understanding, your endurance will be tested as never before. Do not falter. Observe, comprehend, and act." Marcus's heart pounded, but he pressed on. He recalled everything he had learned. Fear could not be fought with weapons, but with perception. Darkness could not be banished, only understood. The building did not seek destruction, but comprehension and acknowledgement. Each step became deliberate, each breath a grounding force amidst the chaos. From the far end of the chamber, a pool of black liquid began to rise, forming tendrils that twisted and spiraled like living snakes. The tendrils coalesced into a towering form, its shape constantly shifting, alternately humanoid and alien, its surface a swirling tapestry of faces and memories. Marcus realized with a jolt that this was the core of the horror, the embodiment of the building's sentience, its essence condensed into a single, tangible form. "You face the horror in its truest form," the cloaked figure said. "It is both everything you fear and everything you must understand. To endure is to confront the entirety of your being reflected back at you, magnified, unrelenting, and alive. Fail, and you become part of its eternal memory. Succeed, and you emerge as witness and participant, forever changed but unbroken. The tendrils surged forward, encircling Marcus without touching him, their motions deliberate, probing, measuring. He felt their presence in his mind, each one a wave of emotion, memory, and perception, pressing against his consciousness, challenging him, teasing out weaknesses, vulnerabilities, hidden fears. He stumbled but forced himself upright, breathing steadily, allowing the sensations to flow through him without resisting, without recoiling. The child's voice pierced the swirl of emotions. Do not resist, detective. Comprehend. Understand the horror's essence. It is not an enemy but a mirror, a teacher, a force that shapes perception. Your reaction defines the outcome. Marcus focused, letting the tendrils wash over him. He saw flashes of his life, failures, regrets, moments of courage, instances of love and compassion. He saw his own capacity for both darkness and light. He acknowledged it all without judgment, integrating it into his understanding. The tendrils responded, slowing, then withdrawing slightly, as if recognizing his resolve. The black form at the center pulsed, its surface rippling like liquid shadow. From it emerged a voice, deep, resonant, omnipresent. Detective, you witness creation itself. You observe fear made manifest, memory made tangible, darkness made alive. Will you endure, or will you succumb? Marcus gritted his teeth, summoning every ounce of courage. I endure, he declared. I face all that you are, all that I am, and I will not falter. The tendrils recoiled further, the swirling pool of black liquid condensing into a single, stable form. The massive figure became less chaotic, its shifting forms stabilizing into a towering humanoid silhouette, composed of light and shadow, faces and memories seamlessly integrated. Marcus could feel its awareness, vast and incomprehensible, yet not hostile, curious, evaluative, testing the boundaries of his understanding. You have endured the trials of perception, fear, and memory, the cloaked figure intoned. Now you face the final test, choice. The horror respects comprehension and resilience, but ultimate survival requires decision. Will you emerge as witness, transformed and aware, or remain trapped within the night, another whisper among countless others? Marcus's mind raced, but he realized he already understood the answer. To survive was not merely to escape, but to integrate, to witness, to accept the horror as part of his perception of reality without losing himself to it. He nodded, his resolve firm, and took a step toward the central figure. The shadows parted slightly, tendrils retreating, as the building itself seemed to acknowledge his choice. The black liquid rippled, reflecting not chaos, but clarity. Marcus felt a surge of understanding, a connection to the sentient force around him, a recognition of the delicate balance between fear, comprehension, and endurance. You have chosen wisely, the central figure's voice resonated. To witness without surrender is the path to survival. You understand the essence of the night, and the night acknowledges you. Yet, remember this, the horror is patient. It watches, it waits, it remembers. You have survived, but the memory of the night will remain, forever shaping your perception, your understanding, your very being. The child floated close, its glow warm, almost comforting. You have passed the ultimate threshold, detective. The night has revealed its truth, and you endure. But the path is not complete. Ravenwood will never release its lessons entirely. They are embedded in every shadow, every whisper, every heartbeat within these walls. Remember this as you leave. Marcus exhaled slowly, feeling the oppressive weight of the chamber lifting. The shadows receded, the whispers softened, and the mist thinned, leaving a clear path forward. The central figure remained, a towering, calm presence, observing, acknowledging, yet no longer threatening. With measured steps, Marcus moved toward the exit of the hall, the child guiding him, his mind and spirit sharpened by the trials he had endured. He knew that the building had not been defeated. No, Ravenwood was eternal, sentient, and ever hungry, but he had survived its deepest horrors, confronted its essence, and emerged not broken, but enlightened, carrying the weight and understanding of the night within him. The exit loomed ahead, a doorway into darkness tinged with soft, natural light, a hint of the world beyond Ravenwood. Marcus took a final deep breath, preparing to step through, carrying with him the knowledge, endurance, and comprehension that the horror demanded. He was a witness, a survivor, and forever changed. Marcus stepped cautiously toward the doorway, feeling the strange tug of the building still lingering at the edges of his consciousness. The glow of the child figure illuminated the final stretch, casting long shadows that stretched unnaturally across the warped floor. He had endured trials of perception, confronted the darkest aspects of his own being, and faced the horror in its ultimate manifestation. Yet, even as he moved forward, he sensed that Ravenwood was not yet done with him. Its sentience, patient and relentless, followed his every thought, every heartbeat, every step toward the exit. The hall shifted subtly beneath his feet. Shadows flickered, forming shapes that mimicked people he had known, lives he had touched, decisions he had made, and paths he had avoided. They watched silently, their eyes reflecting not hostility, but expectation that he would comprehend the final lesson, that he would act with awareness, that he would leave as more than a survivor. The child figure spoke softly, a gentle hum in the oppressive stillness. Do not rush, detective. The horror has taught you that speed matters less than understanding. Each step, each observation, each breath carries meaning. Proceed with clarity. Marcus's flashlight illuminated the far wall, revealing a mural of sorts, a depiction of the building itself, its many rooms, corridors, and chambers etched in swirling patterns of shadow and light. Embedded within it were the countless memories and fears he had confronted, all integrated into a larger whole. For the first time, Marcus could see the structure not just as a physical entity, but as a living organism, a conscious repository of human emotion, memory, and fear. A whisper floated to him, more coherent than any he had yet heard. It was the voice of the cloaked figure, resonant and calm. This is the final lesson, detective. Comprehension alone has carried you this far, but understanding the interconnectedness of all things, the interplay of fear, memory, and perception, is the true key. Only by witnessing, without succumbing, can you emerge unbroken. Marcus paused before the mural, studying its intricate details. He recognized himself in the patterns, his own trials reflected in the architecture, in the shifting forms, in the faces within the shadows. He realized that the horror had never sought to destroy him. It had sought to teach, to illuminate, to force recognition of what is often denied, the human capacity for fear, resilience, understanding, and self-awareness. As he absorbed this revelation, the shadows around him began to consolidate. Figures he had faced, the monstrous reflection, the fragmentary phantoms, the manifestations of his guilt and regret, gathered, forming a swirling mass that seemed to await his next move. The energy in the room intensified, vibrating through his body, pressing against his mind. You are ready for the final step, the child whispered. Do not hesitate. Witness fully, accept wholly, and act deliberately. Marcus took a deep breath, centering himself. He let his mind expand outward, acknowledging every whisper, every shadow, every fragment of memory. Instead of recoiling or resisting, he embraced the totality of his experience. He did not fear the manifestations, he recognized them as reflections, as teachers, as integral parts of the night. The central figure of the horror, previously massive and chaotic, now shimmered with a calm, almost serene presence. It radiated awareness, not malice, its form pulsating with integrated memories and experiences. It was not just a creature of fear. It was the embodiment of perception itself, a living mirror reflecting the entirety of human consciousness magnified through the lens of terror. The room shifted again, the mural of the building bending and twisting to reveal a singular doorway at its center. A warm, natural light emanated from beyond it, contrasting sharply with the oppressive darkness Marcus had traversed. He understood instinctively, to step through was to leave the horror's dominion, but not without retaining the lessons and awareness he had gained. The whispers intensified, forming a chorus of every voice, every memory, every shadow he had faced. They were neither hostile nor pleading, but instructive, as if urging him to integrate their presence into his understanding. Marcus realized that he was not leaving the horror behind, he was carrying it within himself, the comprehension of its essence embedded in his perception of reality. The cloaked figure appeared at the threshold, its form now less imposing, more an extension of the horror than a separate entity. "You have endured," it said softly. "You have witnessed, comprehended and integrated. The final step requires only action. Step forward and carry the understanding with you. Let the night shape you, but do not let it consume you." Marcus nodded, swallowing hard. He took a deliberate step toward the light, feeling the shadows part before him, the mist lifting, the oppressive weight of the chamber easing. Each footfall was measured, intentional, a testament to the endurance, understanding, and courage that had brought him this far. As he crossed the threshold, a wave of sensation washed over him, relief, exhaustion, exhilaration, and clarity all at once. The darkness receded, the whispers softened, and the building's sentience seemed to acknowledge his passage, a silent recognition of his achievement. Marcus was no longer merely a participant, he was a witness, an observer forever altered by the horror, carrying within him the lessons of the night, the endurance of the trials, and the understanding of fear transformed into knowledge. The light expanded, and Marcus found himself standing at the edge of a small courtyard, the building looming silently behind him. The night sky was clear, the air crisp, and for the first time since entering Ravenwood, he could breathe freely, unencumbered by oppressive darkness or whispering shadows. The child floated beside him one last time, its glow soft, almost comforting. "You have completed the trial," it said. "Ravenwood endures, as do its lessons. Remember, detective, comprehension and courage are your shields. Fear is inevitable, but it need not control you. You carry the night within, and it will guide you as much as it tests you." Marcus exhaled, the weight of the journey pressing upon him even as relief filled his chest. He knew that the building's influence would linger, that the memories, the lessons, and the shadows would remain a part of him. Yet, he felt a newfound clarity, a sense of purpose sharpened by the trials he had endured. The cloaked figure faded into the shadows of the courtyard, its presence now distant yet ever watchful. Marcus looked back once at Ravenwood, its walls silent, dark, and inscrutable, and understood that the building was eternal, sentient, and patient. It had tested him, shaped him, and imparted truths beyond ordinary comprehension. And though he had survived, he was forever changed, carrying within him the horror of the night, integrated into his consciousness, tempered by endurance, and illuminated by understanding. With deliberate, steady steps, Marcus moved away from the building, each footfall echoing in the quiet night. He did not run, he did not flee. He walked with awareness, carrying the lessons of the horror, the comprehension of fear, and the clarity born of facing the darkness fully. The night stretched before him, vast, quiet, and eternal, but Marcus was no longer its prey. He was its witness, its student, and survivor, forever changed by the trials of Ravenwood. Marcus continued walking through the courtyard, the chill night air grounding him after the surreal intensity of Ravenwood's interior. Every breath he drew felt cleaner, sharper, more real, yet the lessons of the building lingered like a subtle hum beneath his consciousness. He knew the horror had not been a mere adversary, it had been a teacher, a mirror, a force demanding comprehension and endurance. He had faced the essence of fear itself and emerged not destroyed, but transformed. The courtyard stretched ahead, bordered by dark stone walls intertwined with creeping ivy, and the moonlight reflected off patches of damp ground, casting fractured patterns across the surface. The building loomed silently behind him, massive and inscrutable, as if it had always been a part of the night itself. For a moment, Marcus considered turning back, stepping through the threshold once more to test the depths of his understanding, but he knew instinctively that Ravenwood's trials were infinite and patient. There would always be another whisper, another shadow, another confrontation, but he was prepared. The child figure floated ahead, its glow now soft, comforting, almost like a guiding star in the vast night. The final step is reflection, detective, it said. You have endured creation, comprehension, and confrontation. But the night's lesson does not end at survival. To carry its truth into the world requires integration, awareness, and action. Only by reflecting will you transform knowledge into wisdom. Marcus nodded, understanding the weight of those words. He began walking slowly, observing the courtyard, the subtle shifts of light and shadow, the interplay of silence and faint sound. He considered every trial he had faced, the initial whispers, the phantasms of fear, the corridors of memory, the confrontations with fragments of himself, and the ultimate encounter with the central manifestation of the horror. Each had tested not just his courage, but his perception, understanding, and willingness to endure. As he moved, the shadows shifted in response, forming shapes of people, events, and moments that had influenced his life. They were neither threatening nor menacing, instead, they seemed to acknowledge him, as if granting permission to integrate their lessons into his consciousness. Marcus realized that the building's sentience was not punitive, it sought not destruction, but evolution. Every fear faced, every shadow understood, every fragment acknowledged had strengthened him, sharpened his mind, and expanded his awareness. He paused at a central fountain, its waters still, reflecting the moonlight in perfect clarity. Marcus gazed into it, seeing not only his reflection, but the synthesis of all he had endured. Shadows from the building, whispers of memory, fragments of fear, all coalesced into a singular vision of self, resolute, aware, and unbroken. The horror had not consumed him, it had refined him, revealing both vulnerability and strength, weakness and courage, mortality and resilience. The courtyard was alive with subtle shifts. The air hummed faintly, the leaves of the ivy quivered as if acknowledging his presence, and faint ripples spread across the surface of the fountain. Marcus understood that Ravenwood's lessons extended beyond the walls, beyond the building itself. The night, with all its shadows and whispers, had a consciousness of its own, a force that permeated perception and demanded recognition. To carry its truth meant to live with heightened awareness, to face fear not as a paralyzing agent, but as a tool of comprehension. A sudden gust of wind stirred the courtyard, carrying with it a faint whisper, almost like a sigh. Marcus recognized it as the voice of the cloaked figure, its tone calm, approving. You have endured. You have witnessed. You have comprehended. Now integrate this knowledge fully. Let it guide your perception, sharpen your understanding, and temper your courage. The night remembers, and so will you. Marcus inhaled deeply, feeling the cool air fill his lungs and clear his mind. He walked to the edge of the courtyard, pausing to look back one final time at Ravenwood. Its walls were still and silent, its presence massive yet patient, eternal yet unthreatening. For a moment, he imagined the countless lives and fears the building had witnessed, the lessons it had imparted, and the transformation it offered to those willing to endure. He felt gratitude, not for the horror, but for the clarity, understanding, and resilience it had forged within him. The child floated beside him, its glow dimming slightly, signaling the end of their guidance. Your trial is complete, it said softly. Remember the lessons: comprehension tempers fear, endurance sharpens courage, and reflection transforms knowledge into wisdom. The night will continue, detective, but you carry its truth now. Step forward with awareness. Marcus nodded and turned toward the path leading away from the courtyard. Every step felt deliberate, measured, and purposeful. He no longer felt the oppressive weight of shadows pressing on him. Instead, he felt a connection to the night itself, a subtle understanding of the balance between darkness and light, fear and courage, perception and action. The whispers had not disappeared. They lingered faintly in the edges of his awareness, gentle reminders that comprehension is a continuous process, but they no longer sought to overwhelm him. As he walked into the open night beyond Ravenwood, the first hints of dawn began to touch the horizon. The sky shifted from inky black to muted shades of indigo and violet, the stars fading as light strengthened. Marcus felt a sense of closure, a quiet affirmation that while the horror had tested him to the limits of mind and spirit, he had emerged resilient, aware, and transformed. He paused on a small rise overlooking the city beyond, the streets silent in the early morning light. The trials, the whispers, the shadows, all were now a part of him, integrated into his perception, guiding his understanding of both fear and courage. The night had been a teacher, Ravenwood its vessel, and Marcus the student who endured, comprehended, and ultimately emerged not merely unbroken, but enlightened. With one final deep breath, Marcus descended toward the city, carrying the lessons of the night in every step, every heartbeat, and every thought. Ravenwood receded behind him, its presence eternal, patient, and watchful, but no longer a force to dominate him. He had faced the horror, embraced comprehension, endured the trials, and emerged a witness, a participant, and a survivor. The city awaited, indifferent yet full of life, and Marcus walked forward with measured purpose, the echoes of the night whispering softly in his mind, guiding him, shaping him, and forever reminding him of the truth he had uncovered, that the horror is not merely outside, but within, and only through awareness, endurance, and comprehension can it be understood and transcended. The trial of his courage, his understanding, and his sanity had truly begun.